Cynthia, you think we're good?
I think we're good. We've got 64 people on the Zoom meeting and it's 10 o'clock. So take us away, Chief.
All right, well, welcome and thank you for being here for our regular session. This is what, our 32nd meeting since last year, something like that.
It's a bunch.
It seems like many of you were just on the call that we were just on with the legislative, with the House, and I know you had your budget presentations. I sat through most of them, many of them, and I think by and large, all the requests were favorably received. I don't think there were any hostilities out there towards any of the requests. So I thought y'all did a good job, and so we'll look forward to the results there. Be reminded, as always, that this meeting is open to the public and is recorded and is probably attended by the media. We don't know. I very seldom know who from the media is here on the Zoom calls, but it's always a good chance. Also want to welcome Judge Van Pelt. I'm not even sure we need to welcome Judge Van Pelt anymore. He's one of us and has been for some time, but he is here in place of Judge Robert Flournoy. So thank you, Judge, for being here. Ms. Clanton, will you do the roll call, please?
Happy to. Presiding Justice Namias.
I'm here.
Chief Judge McFadden.
Here.
Vice Chief Rickman.
Here.
Judge Walter Davis.
Here.
Chief Judge Amaro.
Here.
Judge Paget.
Here.
Judge Kite. Judge Melanie Cross. Judge Sizemore.
Here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chief Judge Asha Jackson. I know she's joined us, Chief.
Yeah.
Chief Judge Christopher Brasher.
Here.
Judge Fletcher Sands.
I'm here. Thank you.
Judge Ralph Van Pelt.
I'm here.
Chief Judge Sarah Wall. Chief Judge Jeff Bagley.
This is Robin Rooks. Judge Bagley's having a minor medical procedure this morning and will not be able to attend.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you for letting us know. Judge Jim Blanchard. Judge Wes Taylor.
I'm here.
Judge Al Wong.
Here.
Judge Lisa Jones.
I'm here, thank you.
Chief Judge Greg Price. Judge Kelly Walk.
Present.
Judge Thomas Lakes.
Here.
Chief Judge TJ Hudson.
I'm here, Mrs. C.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Judge Quinn Casper.
I'm here.
Chief Judge Willie Weaver.
I'm here.
Chief Judge Lori Duff.
I'm here.
And Don Jones, President of the State Bar.
Here, thank you, Cynthia.
Absolutely. Chief, that completes the roll.
Cynthia, this is Judge Price. I came in late. I apologize. I was in a House budget meeting.
We're glad to have you, Judge Price, as always.
Thank you.
Ms. Clayton, this is Judge Jeff Kite. I apologize. I was having an issue getting on. Thank you.
I'm glad you're with us, Judge.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the December 11 general session. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right, PJ moved, Judge Brasher seconds. Anybody opposed? Those will stand approved. Before we get to the COVID task force report, I just want to reiterate what we talked about at our last meeting, which is that the COVID numbers look pretty good. Anything is more than we want, but they're down to about 3,000 on a 7-day rolling average compared to 7,000, which is where we were when we shut down jury trials. That's a good sign towards our ability to open up jury trials in March, but we're still going to need some confirmation, better sense of where we're headed with the vaccine, I believe. And so right now we're still on stage 1A. if we can get some indication of what it looks like to move to the next stage, whatever that may be, that would help us make a decision, an informed decision, especially as it relates to these other strains that are out there that we're concerned about. So if we get the confirmation that we're on top of that and that the numbers will continue on a downward trend, that will help us a lot in making that ultimate decision. So that's the main thing I wanted to share with you on that. Judge LaGrua, are you there? Do you have anything to add for the Judicial COVID Task Force?
Just two quick updates, Chief. We should have the one-page assistance document for discovery disputes and other disputes for lawyers and judges to you within the next couple of days, and the short version of the remote voir dire and jury trial for civil cases to you by the end of next week.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the Legislative Committee. PJ, you're on mute.
Get off mute. Thank you, Chief. The Standing Committee on Legislation met last Friday, February 5th, to take up proposals from the Council of State Court Judges. They're included in your materials behind tab 4B. As a reminder, the committee and the council vote on these proposals in concept only to allow flexibility during the legislative process. The committee makes two recommendations for approval by the Judicial Council, both relating to surety bonds under OCGA 17.6, 31, and 72. This issue was mentioned during one of our emergency session meetings last month, and the Council of State Court Judges took the lead on a proposed fix. It's also an issue that deals with the backlog and the difficulty of getting cases moving quickly. We'll present it as two separate motions. The first item addresses the amount of time a defendant needs to be tried in before the surety on the bond goes away. The surety is relieved of liability. And the second item is a clarification of when the surety may be released from a bond. I think Judge Wes Taylor is on the call, and let me turn it over to him to describe the two proposals in a little more detail.
Thank you, Presiding Justice. I am happy to answer any questions as to either of these to the best that I can. Just real quick on 31, it's pretty straightforward. It just changes the time period from 1 year for a misdemeanor and 2 years for a felony to 2 years and 4 years. So it just adds a year to both of those as the time period by which a surety would be discharged from any responsibility on the bond. As to 17.672, it's a little more complicated, but the bottom line is that that statute was amended in 2013 and included language that, I hate to say it this way, but quite frankly, made it so that it didn't make much sense and didn't work very well. And so while we were in the surety section, it made sense to just go ahead and address it. And the proposed language of the fix would work this way. The surety would have 120 days from the judgment to surrender the principal or identify him in another jurisdiction, those kinds of things, and would only be required to pay 5% of the bond. So you find the defendant within 120 days after the judgment is entered, the surety only pays 5% of the bond. If the surety is not able to find the principal within that first 120 days after entry of the judgment on the bond, then they could pay the judgment, find the surety within another 120 days, and receive back 95% of the bond amount. Or if they couldn't find him within that first 120 days, they would have a 2-year period within which to surrender the principal and recover 50% of the bond amount. And that's really the bottom line of what it does. I think that's what the 2013 amendment was intended to do, but it did not. Real quick, the 2013 amendment instead placed the 120-day or the remission of 95% without a corresponding time on the judgment. And what it effectively did is that if the surety couldn't find the principal within that 120 days or the 2 years, then they would actually, and they returned them, they would actually have to pay the full amount of the judgment and then plus another 5%. And so it really doesn't do anything. Nobody would go under that code section. So it just fixes that. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, are there any questions on either proposal? I will say the second one seems a classic example of kind of an idea that was behind the legislation that didn't make it into the legislation, that is pretty complicated, and appreciate Judge Taylor's efforts to get it to accord with what the intent probably was. If there aren't any questions, Chief, then I'll make this in the form of two separate motions that we can consider and vote on separately. The first motion is that the Legislative Committee recommends Judicial Council support legislation to amend OCGA Section 17631E to increase the period of time a defendant can be tried before a surety is relieved of liability on the bond.
Okay, so you've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I think Judge Casper second, and I think that was Judge Casper second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Is there anybody who's opposed? All right, that stands approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion.
The second motion is for the Committee on Legislation recommends that the Judicial Council support legislation to amend OCGA Section 17672 to clarify when a surety may be released from a bond.
Is there a second on that one?
Second.
Judge Casper as well. Any discussion? Anybody opposed? All right, that will stand approved as well.
Right.
Judge
We
Taylor,
have
thank
a few other updates quickly, Chief, on the status of legislation. As many of you know, yesterday was Legislative Day 16. There's a bill to adopt the schedule through Legislative Day 25, which will be March 1. Crossover Day will be Legislative Day 28, but we don't yet know when that date will be. We've prioritized among the items Judicial Council is supporting the ones related to the pandemic, and the top priority being the speedy trial legislation. We're still working internally on the court reporting bill and the petition for review between inferior courts and superior and state courts, but those may not actually be introduced as legislation this session. Judicial Council staff, and I really want to express our appreciation to Tracy Mason and Cheryl and Darren and the other folks working on these proposals, have had productive meetings with legislators on pandemic-related items this week. The speedy trial legislation was dropped yesterday. It has great sponsorship by Senate Judiciary Chairman Brian Strickland with a bipartisan list of co-sponsors. It's Senate Bill 163, and we expect a hearing on it as early as next Wednesday. The accusations and bench trials proposals that we voted on at our last at one of our last meetings has also got a sponsor. Representative and former DA and Superior Court Judge Stan Gunter has agreed to sponsor both of those proposals. The alternative locations proposal that we're supporting was filed this week as House Bill 405, sponsored by Representative Mike Walensky with a bipartisan list of co-sponsors. And it has been assigned to the House Judiciary Civil Committee and should have a hearing hopefully soon. So all of those pandemic-related proposals have been moving quickly and have received pretty good support. That's where we are, Chief. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I did want to thank Judge Taylor for bringing those two items that we voted on to our attention. And I join presiding justice in thanking our legislative team at the AOC for what they do and how they represent us across the street. The Budget Committee has a written report that you'll see in your materials at tab 3. Judge Emerson has an update from the Technology Committee.
Thank you, Chief Justice. The Technology Committee is busy. You have a report. It's pretty straightforward. I will add that one of the projects that I'm trying to improve our progress on is the statutory requirement that we report no contact bond orders and no contact sentence orders to the protective order registry. Mr. Luke was reached out to GCIC to talk to them about the development of that interface. And it turns out that GCIC has done that. And so he and I are going to be meeting with them along with other interested players. I've got several court clerks' offices who have volunteered to work with us on getting this started. The Superior Court clerks are already reporting family violence protective orders, but this is a much broader requirement that reaches all of our trial courts. And the non-superior courts don't have access to the current protective order interface. And also a criminal order is, in my opinion, substantively different from a civil family violence order. So we're working on that. If there are any other questions, the report pretty much tells you what we've got going on. We're going to be busy and we have a lot of things we're doing. Any questions? That's my report, Chief.
All right, thank you, Judge Emerson. Y'all should know he's taking the bull by the horns and really digging into some of these really complex issues, and I appreciate that. Justice Bethel and Judge McBurney have an update on the Improving Community Access to Legal Resources Committee.
Thank you, Chief. I'm looking at my agenda and making sure I'm going in order. I think I've got two in a row. So you've got the caller first on yours.
Yeah, do the cybersecurity insurance implementation, please.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. Just for reference, everyone, at tab 5 is the information, and most of the council members will remember this is a successor committee to sort of an evaluation of what the need might be. We are now in the process of implementation, and the first step of that is gathering the scope of what coverage might be needed, and then pricing what that looks like in the marketplace, which is, as you might imagine, not a whole lot of comparison sets out in the universe of insurance. So I want to thank Judge Walt Davis, who is helping me, but mainly the staff at our court and many of the classes of court around the state who are working together with IT group to sort of define that presentation. That presentation is, I guess, was rehearsed again this week before a final presentation for brokers and interested insurers that is to take place in the next couple of weeks. Unless there's got any questions, that's our update on where we stand in that, and we should hopefully have an idea of how big the elephant is in the relatively near future.
All right, well, I'm hoping for a hippopotamus, but
you and me both.
I understand Darren Enns has been a great help there, so thank you, Darren.
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Good work, yeah.
All right, any questions there? All right, we'll move on to the community access.
Thank you, Chief. And I'll just roll right on through. Judge McBurney is on, and if there's any hard questions, I will obviously defer to him. But our Community Access to Legal Resources Committee, which most of us historically would sort of talk about it in terms of law libraries, but we're trying to reimagine what that looks like in terms of supporting particularly unrepresented litigants who come to our courthouses and looking for ways to get them the resources they need so that when they get into our courtrooms, they are more effective and not being sent out to do it again, and taking up court resources in the process. We are also in a data gathering mode there. I think most of us who've been around Georgia courts for a while recognize that the way individual circuits and counties and jurisdictions handle law library funds varies greatly across the state. We're trying to nail down sort of the current status quo in that respect. We also have had some very promising conversations with the folks at the Pew Trusts who have an ongoing nationwide project in this space. They've got a little bit broader scope than what we're looking at, but they have expressed an interest in helping us look at best practices and what options may be out there. And if that develops into a formal relationship, we'll obviously be back talking about that, and want to say a special word of thanks to Judge McBurney for his leadership there. And then also note that the folks at Mercer Law School, and particularly the law library at Mercer, have provided resources to us and just manpower of law students in particular to help us in the data gathering process. And a note that we, at the risk of over surveying people, which we know is a common experience for many of us, we probably will be trying to do a very targeted survey in this space to make sure that the data we have collected relative to the way folks are spending law library funds today is accurate and reflective of reality. So that's our report there. That our larger report is at tab 6 for anybody who wants to look at it.
Thank you, Justice Bethel and Judge McBurney. Any questions there? I'm extremely optimistic that this is a very practical approach to making the legal process accessible and more efficient for self-represented litigants. Let's move forward. We're making good pace right now. Let's keep going, and we'll move now to the reports. Ms. Clanton, are you ready to give your report for the Judicial Council AOC?
I am all ready, Chief. So we've begun our new year with the rollout of a vaccine for COVID-19. And as you know, court employees are currently expected to be included in phase 1B of the vaccine distribution plan. My immediate family was brushed by COVID, so I know how important vaccinations are to everyone's health and to ensure the courts continue to safely function. Thank you to DPH General Counsel Jennifer Dalton for providing us with timely information and answering our questions about the distribution. Please remember we continue to update our Judicial Gateway website frequently with new emergency orders and information from DPH. All of us were thrilled to see our friend Justice Sean LaGrua sworn into the Supreme Court of Georgia at the beginning of 2021. Congratulations. And I applaud Tracy Mason, Cheryl Karunas, Robert Aycock, and their team for keeping us all informed each week about the ongoing legislative session. We loved watching Justice Bethel and Chief Judge Brenda Weaver administer the oath of office to the Georgia Senate and House, respectively, on January 11th, the first day of the 2021 session. The AOC continues to staff a boatload of Judicial Council committee meetings for you, including the Judicial COVID Task Force and all its subcommittees, access to justice, improving community access, board of court reporting, cybersecurity insurance, technology, justice for children, and others as well. We've also been meeting with DHS's Division of Child Support Services to touch base on our joint work and to brainstorm some new ideas for 2021. It's thumbs up so far. Despite the pandemic, AOC staffer Bianca Bennett has administered remote and in-person testing for 127 people who want to be court interpreters or process servers. Kudos to our staffer, Bianca, for being innovative during these difficult times. And the AOC staff continue to stay connected through virtual meetings. We thank Presiding Justice Namias for speaking to us at our December staff meeting, and Council of Juvenile Court Judges President Lisa Jones for speaking to us in January. Congratulations are in order to Superior Court Judge Jane Barwick for passing the gavel, well, at least virtually, to Superior Court Cindy Morris as the new chair of the Supreme Court, the Commission on Dispute Resolution. Congratulations are also in order to the Suwannee Municipal Court for being selected as Georgia's 2020 Municipal Court Program of the Year by the Georgia Municipal Court Clerks Council, which noted the court's state-of-the-art queuing platform. Thank you to the long list of judges, many of you on the Judicial Council, who participated in our celebration of Bill of Rights Day on December 15th, where you answered questions from 4 participating social studies classes around the state. Chief Judge Christopher Brasher did a wonderful job reading 2 books to Palmetto Elementary School 3rd grade classes on World Read Aloud Day. There were at least 10 questions from the children, including, what was your saddest day? Is your courtroom full of drama? And do you like being a judge? Judge Brasher handled all the questions in a way that helped instill confidence in the judicial branch. February is Black History Month, and we're posting daily profiles of our Georgia judges. This year, we're asking them to name their mentors, which is very inspiring to all of us. Judge LaJoy Williamson, a civil and magistrate court judge in Richmond County, was one of our posts. We posted a profile of Judge Veronica Cope of the State Court of Gwinnett County on February 5th, and she named her mother as her mentor. As we've had a few senior staff changes with Ben Luke and Stephanie Hines moving up, and some new staff join us in December, it's timely for the AOC staff to revisit our strategic plan, just to make sure we're on track. We are actively reflecting on what we've learned over the past year and what innovations we should carry forward into the future to serve you better. Part of my responsibility as AOC director is to help the AOC adapt quickly to your needs and keep moving. I always welcome your thoughts and ideas on how we can serve you better. I've got several new publications to tell you about. In collaboration with many partners, Jerry Bruce, who staffs the J4C committee, recently published a best interest advocacy guide for guardian ad litems in dependency proceedings. A hard copy of that book is available to anyone who requests it, and it's online on our website as well. AOC staffer John Bottero continues to publish the Court Professionals newsletter to make sure court reporters and interpreters are connected with the latest news, job opportunities, and best practices. We created a new flyer to update the public about the civil legal services that are provided to victims of domestic violence through a grant managed by the Judicial Council AOC. We've also updated the court's directory, both online and print. Look for an email from us next week with the directory link. Please, please, please review the online court directory before we go to print. Check your name, title, address. We've had a lot of changes this year, and we really want to get your information right before we publish it. And we're going to be mailing you a printed copy along with the annual report. So look for that in the mail. Finally, AOC Policy Counsel Darren Enns worked with Bruce Shaw to update the Georgia misdemeanor bail practices bench card to reflect the provisions of Senate Bill 402 that passed during the 2020 legislative session. The newly revised bench card is now available on the bench cards page on our website. And now, one of my favorite things to do, other than drink tab, we welcome the newest members of the Judicial Branch family, our darling Judicial Branch babies. First up, the nephew of Budget Officer Malia Wilson. This is Lee. What a dashing young guy. Next is Samantha Wolf's little girl, Charlotte, who is ready for Valentine's Day. Samantha is assisting us with all our task force meetings. And we tried to tie a bib on Darren N's new puppy, Jack. And we've got a video to show you how that exercise went. Yeah, maybe not so much. As always, the AOC exists to serve you, the members of the Judicial Council. Even during these challenging times, we stand ready. Stay well and let me know how we can continue to serve you better. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Clanton. Y'all have been busy, but we knew that. So thank you for that update. Let's skip over Supreme Court for now. Let's go to the Court of Appeals. Judge McFadden.
Thank you, Chief Justice. The Court of Appeals continues to be fully functional. Our work lends itself to remote operations. We are pleased to welcome back Judge Herb Phipps. And otherwise, I will stand on my written report, except that I need to report a theft. We have suffered the loss by theft of one of our valued assets. The perpetrator, who goes by the alias C, has stolen one of the valuable members of our outstanding IT team. Seriously, we wish Devin Cooper very well in his new opportunity, and I congratulate Ms. Clinton on an outstanding decision.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Chief Judge.
All right, thank you, Chief. Judge Walt Davis, Business Court.
Nothing to report, Chief, except, as we go through the budget process this morning and we go through the line items, I'm reminded that it sort of takes a village over here at the Business Court. And I'm grateful to your court, to Ms. Clanton, to the Court of Appeals for all the support you guys are continue to give. So that's it. But thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Judge Brian O'Mara with the Superior Court Judges.
Thank you, Chief Justice. First thing I want to do is give a special thank you, or just say thanks in the largest way possible to you, Chief Justice, for your extraordinary tribute to our dear friend, Judge Horace Johnson, last Friday at the rededication of the Newton County Courthouse in Judge Johnson's name. I think that you really captured the spirit of the man, which is not an easy thing to do. It was a moving tribute, and it's my hope that there is a video of that speech that can be posted on the Judicial Council website, because it's really something, and it speaks to the kind of jurist we should all be. It's inspirational. Next, let me just ask Cynthia a real quick question, and I know it's one of my zany ideas, but is there any way that we could consider having jurors, when they receive their summons, be eligible for a vaccine under 1B? Courthouse employees are folks that are, I believe, what you said, qualifying under 1B. And it really makes sense to me that as we resume the jury trials, that we see those jurors as people who would be eligible under that same category. And also the lead time, we generally get out our subpoenas at least 25 days in advance of the trial of the case, would permit, I think, after having spoken to the Department of Public Health yesterday, such a thing to occur. So it actually might encourage jury participation. So anyway, I just bring that up just as a thought. Otherwise, Chief Justice, thank you again, and we stand in our report.
Thank you, Judge O'Mara. There has been some conversation about jurors. I know Judge Leonard has kind of raised that question as well, but we'll continue looking into that. And thank you for your comments. Judge Johnson was hard to capture because he meant so much, and he's such a big figure. Thank you. Judge Wes Taylor, Council of State Court Judges.
I will say on behalf of the council that our courts across the state continue to find innovative ways to keep the courts moving and to keep cases flowing and resolving, even without the ability to hold jury trials. In our report, we outline or identify a number of the different ways, including folks holding court in the parking lot to that extreme. And I congratulate all of our state court judges in trying to find ways to keep the courts open, accessible, and available. Other than that, I will rest on our report.
Thank you, Judge Taylor. Judge Lisa Jones, Council of Juvenile Court Judges.
Good morning. We continue to work hard and stand on our written report. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Jones. Judge Kelly Walk with the Probate Court Judges.
We will stand on our written report.
All right, Council Magistrate Court Judges, TJ Hudson.
We'll send our written report, Chief Justice.
All right, Judge Willie Weaver, Municipal Court judges.
We have no report, Chief.
All right, Ms. Dawn Jones, State Bar, present.
Thank you, Chief Justice Melton. Briefly, wanted to let you all know that the State Bar of Georgia continues to function remotely, as we have since March of last year, to serve our current 52,000 members of the bar. Our next meeting of the Board of Governors will be held this spring from the 18th through the 20th of March. As usual, you all are welcome to attend any of those events. We expect that the brochure of registration information should be sent out to you all shortly. We have converted this meeting to a virtual meeting. It was supposed to be a meeting in conjunction with the Young Lawyers Division in Brasstown. And because of the COVID statistics, I decided to change that to a virtual meeting. The Board of Governors meeting will be at 9 a.m. on that Saturday, March 20th. And it's an open meeting and we welcome your attendance. Hopefully we will not pass what I believe is the record I set in the January Board of Governors meeting by having a 6-hour and approximately 15-minute Zoom meeting. That was not intentional, but I'm very proud of the work that we got done that day. And you can imagine, and most of you know, in this virtual environment, it's challenging. But we, as a bar, know the work that we need to do and we're doing it. We're currently working on the 2021-2022 bar budget, which we started officially that process in December. We're keeping a constant eye on the COVID statistics, as the Chief Justice mentioned, and as relates to the June annual meeting, which is our largest meeting of every bar year, generally pulling upwards of 600 to 700 attendees. As you all know, it's scheduled to occur in Isle of Palms at the Wild Dunes Resort in South Carolina, just outside of Charleston. We have been in constant negotiations. At this point, we're looking at all options and likely we'll have more specifics at the April meeting. I refer you to our State Bar of Georgia calendar of events found at www.gabar.org for any further information. I am very proud of the social justice initiatives that we started in June of this year, including our Courageous Conversations. There are videos available on the website. And the last thing I'd mention that I'm also very proud of, and to a bit of a personal point, COVID has impacted a lot of us personally, certainly most of us professionally. Personally, most of my immediate family members have been affected adversely. Lost a couple family members over the holidays. And so it was important to me at the beginning of this year with the pandemics that we're facing to ensure that we are supporting our members in total. To that end, we continue with our monthly wellness efforts to support our members physically, mentally, and spiritually. If there's anything that the State Bar of Georgia can do to support you all, please let us know because we are definitely all in this together. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Madam President. All right, let's hear from Ms. Jones with the Council of Accountability Court Judges. Judge Jones, are you there?
Justice Melton, this is Josh Becker with CACJ. She wasn't able to attend this morning, but we will stand on our written report.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Tracy Johnson with the dispute resolution. There you are.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. We do have a written report. I just wanted to note a couple of things. We do want to give congratulations to Judge Cindy Morris on her recent appointment as chair. We want to thank and recognize Judge Jane Barwick for her leadership and service to the commission as past chair. We also, Judge Clarence Cuthbert, a member of our commission, was recently appointed to the state court in Rockdale County, and we want to congratulate him on that. In addition to those things in our report, I just wanted to mention a couple of things that we're working on. I want to congratulate the Daugherty Judicial Circuit. I hope I did not butcher that again. On their recent approval of an ADR program, so that they will be able to provide mediation services to the litigants there in Albany. We are also working and are excited to work with the Probate Judges Council on expanded use of mediation in probate cases. So we'll be working with them this year, and a number of judges have already volunteered to help us with that, so we're very appreciative. And finally, Ms. Carly Saws in our office has been working with the Fulton County Juvenile Court on a community conferencing program. And this process brings together members of the community and juveniles after there's an incident to try and repair that harm, resolve the conflict, and find a better way to move forward. So we're very excited about all these initiatives, and thank the commission, thank the Supreme Court and the AOC for all of their support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Tina Robinson, are you there with the Council of Superior Court Clerks?
Yes, good morning, Chief Justice Melton. We have nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carlise Greer with the Commission on Professionalism. Ms. Greer? Okay, I see Ms. Rooks with the Council of Court Administrators. Ms. Rooks, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, Chief Justice, just briefly, episode 3 of GCCA's In Recess podcast series was released this morning. This episode, entitled Putting Social Media to Work for Your Court, explores how it's becoming increasingly necessary for the courts to learn how to communicate with the public via social media. I invite everyone to listen to the podcast. They can do so by accessing our GCCA podcast, our website. Otherwise, we rest on our report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
And Chief, if I could interrupt, may I?
Yes,
this
go
is
ahead.
Carly Greer. I apologize. I had trouble unmuting today, but thank you. First of all, I want to start by thanking Justice Sarah Hawkins Warren for being an active advisor to the Commission. As she has gained in seniority, as you all know, she's going to take on new administrative duties. And so Justice Sean LaGrua has been appointed to serve as our new advisor, but I wanted to take a moment to publicly thank Justice Warren for her service to the Commission. Since she joined the court, she has been very active in working with the Commission, working with several of our committees, including our CLE committee, our grants committee, our Benham Awards Exploratory Committee. And I want to wish her well as she takes on her new responsibilities with the court, and to publicly thank her for her service to the Commission. I also do want to formally welcome Justice LaGrua as the new Commission advisor. We have worked with her on several of our CLEs this past year, and I look forward to working with her in this new role as the court's designee and advisor to the Commission. I also wanted to update everyone on the necessity of Unparalleled Unity CLE. It will be held in conjunction virtually with the State Bar's Board of Governors Spring meeting on March 19th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. We have confirmed all of our panelists, who are as follows: Justice Carla Wong McMillan, Judge Nina Marquette Baker, Mr. Ashley Bell, a partner with Denton's, Mr. Jake Evans, a partner with Holland and Knight, Judge Dax Lopez, State Court of DeKalb County, and Ms. Patrice Perkins Hooker, a past president of the State Bar of Georgia. I want to publicly acknowledge Kevin Wilson, a staff attorney with the Supreme Court, for all of his help in the planning of the CLE. He's been very generous and gracious with his time and his thoughts and ideas. And I cannot thank him enough for his help. And I also want to take a moment to acknowledge Marty Head for her help all of last year with scheduling to make Chief Justice Melton available for all of our CLEs. I also want to remind everyone about the Commission's Suicide Awareness Program that will take place on Friday, April 30th from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. There's a flyer in the meeting materials, and I would ask everyone to please share this flyer with your network. It does a couple of very important things. It helps to reiterate that it is okay for us as legal professionals to talk about our mental health challenges, and it gets information about resources for help out into the legal community. If you need help with talking points, please feel free to reach out to me, but please share that flyer with your networks. Make plans to join us And then finally, the commission has dispersed the grant funds to the grant awardees. And so we look forward to seeing the projects that the awardees will produce with those funds. And finally, I just want to thank all of the members of the Judicial Council who supported our CLEs last year. We got some statistics from CCLC, and we had over 6,645 CLE attendees for the commission's programs. We could not have done it without the support of the Judicial Council, and I just want to say thank you. That's our report.
Thank you, Ms. Greer. That probably is a record in terms of participation in commission programs. So thank you. Mr. Ashworth with ICJE.
Good morning, Chief Justice. I'm participating by telephone. We have nothing to add past our written report. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Courtney Gill for JQC.
Good morning, Chief Justice. Nothing new to report.
All right, thank you. For the Supreme Court, let me just point out that similar to the comments that y'all have made, we were sad to hear of the loss of Miss Dot Fletcher, the wife of Justice Fletcher. We lost her to COVID this month, and so we regret that. We do, on a happier note, thank the governor for giving us a good justice to make us better and a fun person to be around. But we're welcoming Justice LaGrua to our fold, and she's already jumped in and made her presence felt. So we're glad to have her here. And as you know, with the administrative side of everything, things have been busy, and we will be moving to a February bar that will be conducted via remote. So that's around the corner. The last thing I want to share with you folks is that I do want to announce to you that I plan to leave the court effective July 1st. I do not know what's next, but I wanted to make sure that you, my friends, know about this before I start my search. I've been very happy serving with this court, been thrilled to serve with you guys, but it's time for me to make a move based on just life and 3 kids in college at the same time. I can't be a bureaucrat for forever, although I've enjoyed every bit of it. So it'll be 30 years with the court, with 30 years with state government, 16 years with this court, and it's a highlight to be able to have served with you great folks. So July 1, I'll be looking to make a change. So that's what I want to share with you guys, and thank you for your friendship above all else. That's all I have, folks. And I think we stand adjourned.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. See you at our next meeting.
Cynthia, as an aside, I'm loving the look today.
Oh, thank you.